The third page, pages 1 through 3 are correct. And when I say 1 through 3, I'm including the cover letter to the judge, the introduction, and then the third page, which starts at the top, grand jury report, Lassen County Health and Social Services, environmental health. And those 3 pages are in the correct order. It's the next page that should be withdrawn from there and kind of shuffled into the deck behind the following page. Did I get that right? Did I get that right?
No.
There's a pagination error, in other words. And they are all there, but it appears that the follow-up to the draft report dealing with health and social services, in particular the recommendations, actually comes 3 pages later. Is that right? Sorry, 2 pages later. Yes, 2 pages later. So it should go from at the bottom of page 3, recommendation number 1, strive to obtain funding for unfunded mandates from the federal and state governments, and it should continue, skipping the next page, to the top of the, what is that, 5th page? Response comment. This recommendation has already been implemented. That's how that should go.
It's going to get confused.
I could do this in 5 minutes' time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me which.
Sure. Take page 4 and put it behind page 5.
Yeah.
That's it.
Page 4.
Yep.
Which is this page right here?
I can't see it in that page. It says at the top, Lassen County Building Planning Services, Grand Jury. Yes. Take that and put that behind the next page. That's it. That's it. And I don't know if the PDF was correct and it got messed up in the copy process that went to you all, but I think the PDF was correct.
Aaron, back to you. Did you find it or you?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Elbaugh.
That was a major one because I was confused.
It read out of
order.
order.
In much better order. Okay, so maybe that'll help answer my questions then for finding number 5 on page 3. There are free services provided which environmental health could collect these fees. So now, let me go back and see it. Yeah, like, could we identify which ones those could be?
And I'm sorry, can you more clearly specify where you are?
Page 3.
Yes, sir.
Down on finding number 5, down toward the bottom.
Oh, I see. There are some free services provided for which environmental health could collect fees. Well, now, those aren't my words. Those are the words of the grand jury. That is the conclusion, the finding they reached. They stated, and that's why it was in quotes, there are some free services provided for which environmental health could collect fees, unquote. And the draft response is that the respondent board of supervisors agrees with the finding. And I think if you read the content of the report, you'll see that they are referring to septic inspections, if I believe, mortgage inspections and septic in particular that have, and that's on the agenda today, isn't it?
So it's for later.
Yes, so that historically the department has provided free of charge inspections as a courtesy to mortgage companies who would like that certification in order to make transfers of the property. I think that's
So anyway, just in the response, other than agree with it, I mean, that's fine, but it'd be nice to have a little more substance than we agree with the finding, you agree with the finding. I mean, that's just like
The finding is somewhat nebulous, but when you take the finding and you put it in context of the remainder of the report, at least in their mind, it was specific enough.
Okay. And then after you got this cleaned up, the rest of it reads much better and much more concise, and I think that answered my question. I was getting a little confused with the other item, H3. I have some questions on coming up later on.
Okay.
But that was my only question on this one, is if we could identify which ones we may be looking at changing.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think that they're correct me if I'm wrong, is there not also a recommendation that relates to that?
I think so.
I think there is.
Sorry to obtain funding for unemployment.
Not that one. Okay, recommendation number 4. Establish a fee schedule for some of the inspections currently done for free, especially those requiring re-inspections for non-compliance and those done for mortgage companies on property sales. That is the recommendation set out by the grand jury, and then the response comment is, although it's not been yet implemented, it's expected within the next reporting period, these matters will be presented to this body for consideration. In fact, that's on for today.
Oh, okay.
Did I answer your question, sir?
You did, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no question. Anybody have any questions on the grand jury report? On our response? Being none, we have a motion to approve the grand jury response to the grand jury report. So moved. Have a second?
Second. Under discussion, can we make sure when this is sent to the grand jury that it's proper stacked?
I'm going to go, and I'm going to, before before you vote on your motion, I'm going to include in the original document that I'll ask the chairman to sign page numbers.
Can I,
Yeah, page number, really.
Yes.
Ken, two things. First of all, your the response, draft response to recommendation number 2 dealing with the compensation of basically the environmental health folks, which up until recently, they were state employees and they were paid a state wage through the state, and we had these contracts. So they were used to be paid up here, but then the state kicked them out of the state budget basically, and that's when, and they ended all the contracts, and so then the county basically had to create near positions, and you know the difference between the county employee and the state employee is huge. And the state knows that, and they've created this 2-tier system, because in essence, really, county employees are just low-cost state employees, because we're agents of the state, we're an extension of the state bureaucracy. And so, right at the get-go, the employees that were used to being paid at a state level, now we're going to be paid at a county level, and that has created recruitment issues and all kinds of other issues with the functioning of that department. Okay, so that I don't think comes in here. I like the fact that you put in there, though, that it's been a balancing act since has been ongoing since the formation of the counties. I mean, this is age-old. It's a 150-year struggle in terms of this 2-tier system that we have for public employment in California. And I think maybe it would be good to provide some insight as to why that 2 tiers exists, or maybe this isn't the time and place, but at some point maybe we could see the grand jury be given some orientation. And that's what stimulated the problem, that is the genesis of that finding and discussion. The other thing is the grand jury report is always published in the paper every year. And it's been kind of a pet peeve of mine that when we do the responses, our responses, I mean, other than maybe be part of a news article or something, are not published. So it's not a matter of record. And I know a couple times here in recent years, and I mean, it costs us money. It comes out of the treasury. But basically, space is bought in the paper. Paper won't do it for free. I don't expect them to. But it's so in other words, these 4 pages in the correct order would be put into as some sort of an ad or insert. It wouldn't necessarily have to be an insert, but an ad where it says, okay, this is what the grand jury found, and this is the response, so that the newspaper, which is a matter of public record, okay, there's a clear historical record saying that at this time, at this place, this board made this response to those findings that they made, so that people who follow that or research that don't just go along and say, oh, well, look at all these issues that came up, and if they find a news article that might relate to it, they may be able to discern what the official response is. And I think that would be in everybody's best interest.
If that's the pleasure of the board, we can get that done.
I would hope it would be.
Actually, we did that.
We've done it in the past, but that's not included now. And some people may think these are minor issues, and in comparison to some of the issues we've had to deal with, this is relatively minimal, but I think even these issues deserve the same attention. And the same
So I don't, and maybe I missed it, but I don't recall seeing the grand jury report come out in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
It may have happened. I
It's
just
like
don't
an
remember.
insert that they do it every year.
Yeah.
And
All right.
Mr. Chairman, can I amend my motion?
You can, sir.
I would like to move that we approve these recommendations and that they're published in the newspaper.
Yeah, and they be, we publish like you do it's like a legal notice type thing, so. I think what they did before is that we bought like a display ad and it was like maybe a half a page or a third of a page and it had all the information. I'm sure the paper would be more than happy to sell you the space.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yes, question?
Council?
What budget line item is that out of CA?
It comes out of county council budget.
Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't know.
No, we have a publication budget in there,
Yes, sir.
pays for publications, and I think that's what paid
So-
for it in the past.
We will have the CAO figure that out.
Yeah, it's, you're not talking about a huge amount of money, probably not even $1,000, but it could be. So.
Question to the public? Yes, ma'am.
I like this idea, but given the fact that there's been several months that the grand jury has, are people going to understand or relate to the response? I mean, could it be,
It's only been 6 weeks since the report came out.
anyway,
Pretty fast and going.
is it, are we just wasting $1,000 if you publish something and people can't relate to it, that
No, I don't think
you're
so.
answering?
No. And I'm surprised that came from you, from one, all the transparency, but I mean.
No, I'm
all the
saying,
transparency,
I
to a
prefaced-
point.
I
it's all
said I'm
come
in
down.
favor of it.
Okay.
But my question is, does the board need to put something about the grand jury's response so your response makes sense to the public?
I think we can figure that out.
Well,
reference
in the past, there was a
web
heading
page.
on it. The grand jury report was basically released around the 1st of August. It was in the newspaper as an insert, I want to say around the middle of August. This is the middle of September. So it's within a matter of, 4 to 5 weeks. And it would, I think the heading on the, whatever we put in there as an ad or whatever, the board, the county's response to the recent grand jury report. And if it strengthens people connecting the dots who can't connect the dots, you might even reference that to the Lassen County Times issue of August, whatever the date is, the insert that was part of that issue, so it allows people to go back and find that if they need to. But it doesn't matter, because we're going to say what they recommended, and we're going to give our response to
Okay.
it. So it's a reiteration
Okay, that's
of
what I was asking.
Well, that's what this here is that's what all this is. This is what they recommend, and this is what we
Thank you,
respond.
Bob. Thanks.
Enough discussion, we're gonna move on.